doesn't get the hype Barcelona does, and honestly, that works in your favor. This city's louder, prouder, and more unapologetically itself than anywhere else in Spain. In this video, we're covering 25 things you absolutely have to do in Madrid, iconic landmarks, local food spots, hidden gems, and the insider tips that separate a good trip from an unforgettable one. Let's go! One. Explore Retiro Park. Every great city has that one park where locals actually live their weekends, and in Madrid, that's Retiro. This isn't just a patch of grass in the middle of the city, it's a massive lush escape with wide tree-lined paths, manicured gardens, sculptures, and an energy that shifts completely depending on the time of day. The centerpiece is the Grand Lake in front of the Alfonso XII monument, and yes, you can rent a rowboat and get out on the water for around $6, €5. Fair warning, rowing is harder than it looks, especially when you're dodging every other tourist on the lake, but that's half the fun. Keep an eye out for peacocks roaming freely on the right side of the park. Nobody tells you about those, and yet, there they are, completely unbothered. Entry to the park itself is completely free. Insider tip. The Crystal Palace is currently closed for renovations, but the park is still worth every minute. Go on Sunday morning when it's full of locals, families, dog walkers, people playing guitars, and you'll see a side of Madrid that feels completely real. 2. Visit Plaza Mayor. If Retiro is where Madrid breathes, Plaza Mayor is where it performs. This is the city's grand stage, a wide, sweeping square framed by red brick buildings, ornate iron balconies, and arched entryways on all sides. In the center, a bronze King Philip III on horseback surveys the whole scene like he owns the place. The atmosphere here is special, especially in the early morning before the tourist crowds arrive, or in the evening when the whole square glows under the lights. It's completely free to walk around and absolutely worth doing. Just a heads up, the restaurants right on the square are classic tourist traps with prices to match. Skip them, pick up something from a nearby spot, and eat it on a bench while you people watch. Insider tip. Duck through any of the arched exits on the south side of the square, and you'll stumble directly into some of the best tapas streets in the city. That's where the real food is. 3. Sample everything at Mercado de San Miguel. A 2-minute walk from Plaza Mayor sits one of the most beautiful food markets in Europe, Mercado de San Miguel. This is a proper gourmet market under a gorgeous iron and glass roof, packed with stalls selling everything from jamón iberico and fresh oysters to croquetas, mini burgers, wine, vermouth, and pastries. Is it a bit bougie? Sure. Is it full of tourists? Also yes, but the food quality is genuinely excellent and the atmosphere is unlike anything else in the city. Budget around $15 to $30, 14 to 27 euro, depending on how many things you try. And you'll try a lot of things. There's standing tables throughout, so you can graze your way around without needing a reservation. Insider tip. Go mid-morning before the lunch rush when it's quieter and easier to actually get to the stalls. By early afternoon, the place is shoulder to shoulder. 4. Tour the Royal Palace of Madrid. Here's a fact that doesn't get said enough. The Royal Palace of Madrid is the largest royal palace in all of Western Europe, larger than Versailles. 3,418 rooms, and you can walk through a good chunk of it. The interior is absolutely over the top in the best way possible. Gilded ceilings, crystal chandeliers, marble staircases, a throne room, a banqueting hall, and a royal armory with one of the finest collections of historic armor anywhere in the world. Standard self-guided entry costs $20, 18 euro, and a skip-the-line guided tour runs about $32, 29 euro. The queue without a pre-booked ticket in high season can stretch up to 90 minutes, so booking online is genuinely non-negotiable. Insider tip. EU and Ibero-American citizens get free self-guided entry Monday to Thursday from 4 to 6 p.m. in winter and 5 to 7 p.m. in summer, but the queues during those hours can be brutal. If your time is limited, just pay and book ahead. 5. Join a food tour. If there's one thing to spend money on in Madrid, it's this. A food tour doesn't just feed you, it teaches you how to eat in the city. You'll visit bars and taverns that have been around for over a century, try dishes in the order locals actually eat them, learn what to order and what to avoid, and come away knowing exactly where to go back for the rest of your trip. The Devour Tours Tapas, Taverns, and History Tour is widely considered the best in the city. It covers 4 stops, includes food and drinks throughout, and is led by genuinely passionate local guides. Tours typically run 75 to 90 US dollars, 68 to 82 euro per person with everything included. Insider tip. Book this for your first or second day. The restaurant recommendations you pick up are worth the price alone. They'll completely reshape how you eat for the rest of your time in Madrid. 6. See a flamenco show. If you've only ever watched flamenco on a screen, nothing has prepared you for the real thing. Madrid has some of the best flamenco in Spain, and seeing it live, especially in a small, intimate venue with no sound system, is one of those experiences that stays with you. The stamping echoes off the walls, the guitar fills the room, and the emotion coming off the stage is visceral in a way that's genuinely hard to describe. Essential Flamenco is one of the best venues in the city for this, small, raw, and authentic. Shows start from around 27 US dollars, 25 euro for standard seating, with front row options running a bit higher. Insider tip. Sit as close to the stage as possible. In a small flamenco venue, proximity completely changes the experience. You feel every stomp and you see every expression. Front row here is not about showing off, it's about actually understanding what you're watching. 7. Admire Almudena Cathedral. Standing directly across from the Royal Palace, Almudena Cathedral is one of the more underrated stops in central Madrid. It's one of the youngest major cathedrals in Spain, only completed in the 1990s, and that shows in a surprising way. The outside looks traditional and stately, but step inside and the interior feels unexpectedly contemporary, with bright colors and clean modern aesthetics that catch most visitors completely off guard. A suggested donation of around €1 gets you inside. It's a quick visit, 20 to 30 minutes is plenty, but it's worth it, especially if you're already right there for the palace. Insider tip. For one of the best free views in the city, climb to the cathedral's museum and dome for panoramic views over the Royal Palace and the city skyline. Entry to the museum is just 7 US dollars, 6 euro, and most visitors have no idea it exists. 8. Snap a photo at Puerta del Sol. Puerta del Sol is ground zero. Literally, it's where all distances in Spain are measured from, marked by a small stone plaque in the ground that most people walk right over without noticing. There's also the famous bear and strawberry tree statue, which is the symbol of Madrid, and the whole square buzzes with street performers, locals, and tourists all day long. It's more of a pass-through than a destination, but it's worth a stop. And when you find that kilometer zero plaque, take a second to appreciate the fact that you're standing at the absolute center of an entire country, completely free. 9. Explore Madrid's Golden Triangle of Art. If you're even remotely into art or history, the stretch of museums along Paseo del Prado is something you can't walk past. The Prado is the main event, one of the greatest art museums in the world, home to Velázquez's Las Meninas, Goya's Darkest Nightmare, and thousands of other masterpieces. Just down the road, the Reina Sofia has Picasso's Guernica, plus a phenomenal collection of 20th century Spanish art. And across the street, the Thyssen-Bornemisza bridges the two with everything from medieval panels to pop art. Individual entry to the Prado starts at 20 US dollars, 18 euro, but the smart move is the Paseo del Arte Pass. It covers all 3 museums for around $36, 33 euro, saving you real money if you plan to visit more than one. All three also have free entry windows in the late afternoon and evening. Check each museum's website before you go. Insider tip. The Prado is enormous. Don't try to see everything in one go. Decide what you actually want to see before you arrive, get a map at the entrance, and stick to it. Trying to do the whole thing in one visit turns a great experience into an exhausting one. 10. Eat at Bocadillo de Calamares. This might be the most quintessentially Madrid thing on the entire list. A Bocadillo de Calamares is a soft bread roll stuffed with golden fried squid rings. Simple, cheap, and completely delicious. Madrid is landlocked, which makes it genuinely surprising that this is one of the city's most iconic foods, but the city gets daily fresh seafood shipments from the coast and has been serving this sandwich for generations. The best place to get one is La Campana, just around the corner from Plaza Mayor. The cost is around $3 to $5, 3 to 4 euro. Insider tip. Get it to go, walk back to Plaza Mayor, and eat it on a bench. Add aioli if they offer it. That's the move, and it's genuinely one of the best cheap meals you have in Spain. 11. Have churros and chocolate at San Ginés. You can't come to Madrid and skip this. Chocolateria San Ginés has been serving churro and thick hot chocolate since 1894, and it's still the best place in the city to have them. Spanish churros are different from what most people expect. Less sweet, crispier, and somehow more satisfying. And the dipping chocolate is thick enough that even a spoon could almost stand up in it. Traditionally eaten for breakfast, though the place is basically open 24 hours because Madrid's that kind of city. A serving of churros with chocolate costs around $5 to $7, 4 to 6 euro. Insider tip. Go early morning when it's quieter, order at the counter and eat them fresh out of the fryer. The late night crowds after bars close make this an experience too, but for the food quality, morning wins every time. 12. See the Templo de Debod. This one stops people in their tracks because it's so completely unexpected. In the middle of a park near the Royal Palace, there's an actual Egyptian temple. Not a replica, the real thing, gifted to Spain in the 1960s and rebuilt stone by stone in Madrid. The Templo de Debod dates back over 2,200 years, and seeing it sitting there in the middle of a modern European city is one of those genuinely surreal travel moments. Entry to go inside is free, but you need to reserve timed tickets online in advance since visitor numbers are capped. The park around it is also worth a walk. It's one of the best sunset views in Madrid. Insider tip. For the best photos, come about an hour before sunset when the light turns golden and the temple reflects in the water pools on either side. It looks almost otherworldly. 13. Shop the local markets. Skip the souvenir shops and head to where locals actually shop. Mercado de la Paz in the Salamanca neighborhood is a proper local market. Fresh produce, butchers, fishmongers, and a few excellent casual food spots. The standout is Casa Dani inside the market, which serves what many locals consider the best tortilla española in Madrid. A slice and a glass of juice will run you around $6 to $8, 5 to 7 euro, and it's absolutely worth the detour. If you prefer something with a bit more bar energy, Mercado de Vallehermoso in Chamberí has fresh produce stalls alongside laid-back eateries and a genuinely local crowd. Insider tip. These markets feel nothing like Mercado de San Miguel. They're not designed for tourists, and that's exactly the point. If you want to understand how Madrid actually eats, this is where you come. 14. Stroll Gran Vía. Gran Vía gets compared to Times Square a lot, which is a little unfair because the architecture here is genuinely spectacular. This is Madrid's Great Boulevard. Wide, dramatic, and lined with early 20th century buildings that were built to show off. The star of the show is the Metropolis building at the top end with its black dome and golden-winged sculptures that catch the light at sunset in a way that's almost impossibly photogenic. Yes, there are chain stores and tourist restaurants. Ignore them and keep your eyes up. The buildings are the whole point. The walk is free, and while you're at it, continue east toward Plaza de Cibeles, one of the most iconic fountains in the city. 15. hunt treasures at El Rastro Flea Market. If you're in Madrid on a Sunday, El Rastro is a non-negotiable. This is one of Europe's great flea markets, an enormous, open-air sprawl of stalls filling the streets of La Latina neighborhood every Sunday morning with vintage clothing, vinyl records, antiques, second-hand books, handcrafted jewelry, and about 1,000 things you didn't know you needed. It's completely free to browse, and the atmosphere alone, the noise, the haggling, the crowds moving through narrow streets lined with stalls, is worth experiencing even if you buy nothing. Get there at 10 a.m. and leave by noon before the crowds become genuinely unmanageable. Insider tip. The best finds are off the main strip on the smaller side streets. The main drag is for big crowds and big prices. Duck into the quieter lanes for the interesting stuff. 16. Take a Santiago Bernabéu Stadium tour. Even if you couldn't care less about football, stepping inside the Bernabéu is worth doing. The stadium just completed a massive multi-year renovation, and it's now one of the most technically impressive arenas in the world. Retractable roof, movable pitch, a glass facade that lights up at night, and a museum that genuinely tells the history of the sport. The self-guided tour starts from around $39 35 euro, and covers the museum, trophy room, dressing rooms, and panoramic views from the stands. If you want a guided tour with real stories and context, that runs from around $55 to $65, 50 to 59 euro. Insider tip. Go on a weekday morning to avoid the biggest crowds, and if a Real Madrid match is on during your trip, find a way to go. The atmosphere inside the stadium is something you'll never forget. 17. Shop the trendy neighborhoods. Madrid has some of the best neighborhood shopping in Spain, and each area has a completely different personality. Salamanca is a place for luxury. Think designer boutiques and high-end Spanish brands along Calle Serrano and Calle Goya. For something more local and independent, Malasana is the one. Vintage stores, independent designers, ceramic shops, and boutiques selling you things you genuinely won't find anywhere else. Real Fabrica is also worth seeing out for beautiful made-in-Spain foods, textiles, and gifts that are 100 times better than anything from a souvenir stall. 18. Sip cocktails at a rooftop bar. Madrid's rooftop bar scene is seriously underrated, and watching the sun go down over this city from above a glass of vermouth is one of the great, low-effort, high-reward experiences the city offers. Azotea del Círculo is a favorite. It's right above the Círculo de Bellas Artes building on Gran Vía, with a direct view of the Metropolis building's Golden Dome. Ella Sky Bar is another excellent option with a wide city view. Cielo at Hotel Montera Madrid is a bit more intimate and worth the splurge. Drinks typically run $12 to $20, 11 to 18 euro, depending on the venue and what you order. Insider tip. These spots fill up fast, especially on summer evenings. Some require a reservation or charge a small entry fee or minimum spend. Book ahead or show up right as they open to claim a spot before everyone else does. 19. Go tapas hopping. This is the activity that most defines what Madrid actually is. Tapas hopping isn't just about the food, it's about the rhythm of the city. You move from bar to bar, standing at the counter with a glass of wine or a can of beer, trying a dish or two at each stop, talking to whoever's next to you. The neighborhoods of La Latina and Lavapiés are the best places to do this. A general rule locals swear by? Look for bars with a brass plaque on the pavement outside marking their founding year, or any place with a family name above the door. Those are the ones that have been doing this for generations and still do it right. Insider tip. Tapas hopping works best starting at around 8 p.m. when the city's evening energy kicks in. Before that, it feels like you're the only tourist in the room, which is honestly fine too. 20. Relax at Plaza de España. Plaza de España sits right at the top of Gran Vía near the Royal Palace, and while it's not the most exciting square in Madrid, it's a genuinely pleasant place to sit down and take stock. There's a large central monument, wide open walking spaces, and enough of a local crowd to feel like you're in a real part of the city rather than a tourist zone. Good if you need a breather between the palace and the Temple of Debod, which are both close by. Completely free, it's a public square. 21. Walk through Barrio de las Letras. Just east of the Prado, Barrio de las Letras, the literary quarter, is one of Madrid's most atmospheric neighborhoods for an evening walk. This is where Cervantes and Lope de Vega lived in the 17th century, and their legacy is literally written into the streets. Look down at the pavements, and you'll see quotes from classic Spanish literature set into the stone. These days, the neighborhood is packed with lively bars and restaurants, making it just as much of a place to eat and drink as it is to soak up history. It transitions beautifully from a daytime cultural stroll into a proper evening out. Insider tip. The street Calle de las Huertas is the heart of the neighborhood. Follow it from one end to the other, and you'll pass the best of everything it has to offer. 22. Wander the Real Jardín Botánico. Right next to the Prado Museum sits one of the most serene spots in central Madrid, the Real Jardín Botánico, or Royal Botanical Garden. It's a beautifully maintained historic garden spread across several levels with thousands of plant species, towering trees, glass greenhouses, and the kind of quiet that feels genuinely rare in such a central location. Entry costs around $4, €4, and on Tuesday mornings between 10 a.m. and 1 p.m., it's completely free. It's a perfect 45-minute break in the middle of a heavy sightseeing day. 23. Dine at the world's oldest restaurant. Sobrino de Botín has been open continuously since 1725, long enough to make it into the Guinness World Records as the oldest restaurant in the world. That's not a marketing gimmick. It's a real wood-fired kitchen that has been cooking in the same oven for 3 centuries, and the specialty is roast suckling pig and roast lamb that come out of the oven dark, crispy, and deeply, deeply flavored. It's touristy, obviously, but it's also genuinely excellent food in a genuinely historic building. Budget around $40 to $60, 36 to €55 per person for a full dinner. Make a reservation well in advance. Insider tip. If budget is a concern, book the lunch sitting. The menu del dia at lunchtime is significantly cheaper than the evening a la carte menu and still includes the signature dishes. 24. Take a day trip to Toledo, Segovia, or Avila. If you have a spare day, getting out of Madrid is absolutely worth it, and the best 3 options are all within easy reach. Segovia is a crowd favorite, a stunning Roman aqueduct running right through the center of town, a fairy tale Alcazar castle perched on a cliff, and some of the best roast lamb in Spain. Toledo is a medieval walled city where Christian, Muslim, and Jewish cultures built together over centuries, creating one of the most architecturally rich places in Europe. Avila has one of the best preserved medieval walls on the continent, and a completely different, quieter energy. Day tours from Madrid covering all these run from around $45 to $70, 41 to €64, with transport and entry included. Insider tip. If you can only do one, pick Segovia. The aqueduct alone is worth the journey, but combine it with the Alcazar and the plate of cochinillo asado, and you have a near-perfect day trip. 25. Experience the Nomad Museo Inmersivo. We're closing with something a bit different, and it's one of the best things to do in Madrid on a rainy day or as an evening activity. Nomad Museo Inmersivo on Gran Vía is an immersive digital art space that wraps you in floor-to-ceiling projections set to music covering different artists and themes. Past exhibits have focused on Van Gogh, Da Vinci, and other art world giants, and the effect of being completely surrounded by the artwork rather than standing in front of it is genuinely unlike visiting a traditional museum. Tickets start from around $18, €16 depending on the exhibit. Insider tip. Check what exhibit is running before you book. The themes change regularly and some are more spectacular than others. Evening sessions have a slightly different ambiance with the exterior light gone and the projections completely dominating the space. That's the full Madrid list. 25 things that will make this city one of the best trips you've ever taken. And if you're starting to plan, the number one tip I can give you is this: don't rush it. Madrid rewards the people who slow down, eat late, walk without a plan, and let the city show itself to them. Hit like if this helped you out, subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next, and drop a comment below telling me which one you're most excited about. See you in the next one.